Everyone hung back, hands gripping pockets, eyes wide with a mix of fear and that odd, small-town excitement when something wild is loose. Except no one, not a single soul, wanted to get close to the huge stray dog everyone called Brutus. He was this massive beast, a shepherd mix with a chunk missing from his ear, fur patchy and scarred, eyes wild enough that even the bravest rancher thought twice. But then, yeah, this is the part people remember. A little blind girl, just 9 years old, steps out on her own and walks straight toward him. That's how Silver Creek found itself on the edge of something no one expected. The day Lily Hart decided to trust what she heard instead of what everyone else saw. Lily had been blind since birth, but around town people whispered she didn't move like someone in the dark. She listened, really listened, to the world, picking up things most folks just talked over. Maybe that's why she picked up on the quiet ache in Brutus's howl late at night, when everyone else just heard anger. See, Brutus had a reputation, and not a good one. Livestock chased, garbage cans raided, a rancher's hand bitten so bad it needed stitches. The mayor called animal control, the sheriff put out warnings, and parents made sure their kids stayed inside. Folks started saying maybe it was time someone put Brutus down before he really hurt someone. But Lily, she just couldn't shake this feeling that underneath all that noise, there was something broken, not just dangerous. One evening, Lily sat with her mom, listening to the grown-ups argue about the dog over dinner, and she asked, "Why is he so angry? Did someone hurt him?" Her mom hesitated, the way adults do when they think you're too young for the truth, and just said, "Some animals, they just snap." But Lily remembered the neighbor's old spaniel, the way it shook for weeks after a storm until she sat with it, slow and gentle, day after day. Pain, she'd learned, could look a lot like anger if you didn't pay attention. The next day, with her dad working out back and her grandma supposedly keeping an eye on her, Lily slipped out, quiet as a breeze, apple slices tucked into her pocket. She'd heard Brutus howling by the old lumberyard, so that's where she headed. Even though she couldn't see, she walked sure-footed. She'd memorized every crack and step in her neighborhood. Behind the rusted fence, she found him, growling low, hackles up, bigger than any dog she'd ever met. She could feel his breath, fast and harsh, the air stretched tight between them. She didn't run. She just knelt, placed the apple slices on the ground, and said, "I'm not here to hurt you. I just want to know why you're so sad." Brutus barked, sharp and loud, and for a second, everyone watching from their windows thought this was it. But Lily stayed put, head cocked to the sound of his paws on gravel, heart thumping but voice steady. "You probably haven't had anyone bring you food in a long time," she whispered, sliding an apple closer. The big dog sniffed, one cautious step at a time, then finally ate. His growl faded, curiosity flickering in those wild eyes. Lily smiled, just a small thing, but it broke something in the tension, and Brutus's tail wagged, slow, almost like he didn't remember how. Turns out, Lily wasn't as sneaky as she thought. Her grandma had followed her, heart in her throat, frozen behind the shed, watching this whole thing go down, sure she'd have to run in and save her granddaughter. But she couldn't believe what she saw. The so-called monster letting a blind child feed him like an old friend. The next day, Lily convinced her parents, and the sheriff, who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, to come with her back to the lumberyard. The sheriff kept his hand on his holster, her mom wrung her hands, and her dad just looked scared. But when Brutus heard Lily's voice, he ran to the fence, tail low but wagging, ears back in a way that almost said, "I remember you." The adults started arguing. Too dangerous. What if? But Lily wasn't listening. She stepped forward, hand out, and said, "It's okay. You don't have to hurt anyone ever again." Brutus leaned in, pressing his scarred head right into her palm. For a second, the whole town held its breath, then let it out in tears, laughter, 100 cameras flashing from behind curtains. The sheriff himself got choked up, dabbing at his eyes when he thought no one saw. Someone started to clap, and suddenly, what was supposed to be a moment of fear turned into one of those rare small-town miracles. one folks talk about for years after, over coffee at the diner or late at night when the world feels too heavy. Brutus was taken to a rescue center just down the road from the Hart place, and Lily visited him every day after school. She'd bring treats, read him stories, sometimes just sit and hum old songs her grandma taught her. Brutus changed. No, really, he changed. Weeks went by, and one afternoon a volunteer found him nuzzling a terrified little terrier, comforting it the way Lily had comforted him. Soon, Brutus became something of a legend at the rescue. The monster who helped new dogs feel safe. The twist nobody saw coming? The town, which was split right down the middle about what to do with Brutus, slowly started to shift. The same sheriff who once called him a menace started dropping off treats. Neighbors who once yelled threats now left scraps on the fence. And, yeah, there was this one local kid, Jeremy, always picking fights, who tried to sneak into the rescue center to mess with Brutus. The dog just sat there, calm as a priest, until the kid burst into tears and confessed he'd been scared, not tough. Lily, listening from the bench nearby, smiled and said, "Sometimes you just need someone to listen to you first." Months later, when Lily's story hit the local paper, people in other towns started writing in stories about their own Brutus, dogs, or even people no one wanted to understand. Lily never saw Brutus with her eyes, but she saw him clearer than anyone else ever did. Sometimes, she said, kindness just has to be louder than fear. That day in Silver Creek ended with Brutus, the big bad dog, curled up next to Lily on the grass, the whole town standing around in the golden light, realizing maybe the real danger wasn't the dog at all, but what happens when we let fear decide what's worth saving. Some people walked away that day with new hope. Others just shook their heads, still scared of what they couldn't control. But the question hung in the air long after the sun went down. Did we change Brutus, or did he change us? Guess that's for you to decide. So, what about you? If you were there, would you have trusted the dog or your own fear? Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about who really needs saving and who gets to decide what's dangerous in the first place. Summer came quick that year, air thick with the smell of cut grass, engine oil, and the slow warmth of afternoons that seemed to last forever. You know how small towns get when there's a new legend in the mix. For a while, it felt like every kid in Silver Creek wanted to sneak a look at Brutus, the miracle dog, as folks started calling him. Kids would hang out at the fence, daring each other to whistle, tossing treats, giggling whenever Brutus so much as wagged his tail. And there was Lily, always in the middle, sitting cross-legged in the grass, listening to the sounds of the world and humming tunes you could hear all the way down Main Street. But, sometimes miracles come with shadows, too. Not everyone wanted Brutus around. There was Mrs. Callahan, the mayor's wife, never liked dogs to begin with, and she liked them even less when they reminded the town how wrong adults could be. She started a petition, going door to door, saying Brutus should be sent away for good. Her husband didn't say much, but you can see it in his eyes, all that pride wounded by a little girl and an old dog. Next thing you know, we'll have wolves living in our backyard, she'd snap at the market, making sure everyone heard. Still, Lily kept visiting Brutus, never missing a day. And here's where things got complicated. One afternoon, as thunder rolled out over the prairie, a truck pulled up at the rescue center. Out stepped a man nobody recognized, tall, boots caked with dirt, eyes hidden behind mirrored sunglasses. He asked for the manager, handed over a crumpled photograph, and said, "That dog out back, he's mine." You should have seen the look on the staff's faces. For a second, no one knew what to say. The guy's name was Roy, and he claimed Brutus was his old sheepdog, lost during a storm a year ago. He wasn't always mean, Roy said, voice cracking, just scared after what happened. He reached through the fence, calling Brutus by another name, Duke, and for a heartbeat, Brutus stiffened, nose twitching like he was sniffing for old memories. Lily, sitting nearby, went still as stone, her hands balled up in her lap. The rescue center didn't know what to do. Was Roy telling the truth? He showed vet papers, a faded collar with the tag still scratched up but readable. Half the town started whispering, should Brutus go back to his old life? Some folks said yes, second chances all around. Others, especially those who'd been scared, said no way, he belonged with Lily, with the people who finally understood him. The night before the decision, Lily sat up with Brutus, stroking his ears, her voice soft in the dark. "Do you remember?" she whispered. "If you want to go, it's okay. But if you want to stay, I'll fight for you." Maybe it was the thunder, maybe just the weight of everything, but Brutus nudged her hand, then curled up at her feet and didn't move till morning. Town hall was packed the next day. People crammed in shoulder to shoulder, voices raised. Everybody had an opinion, and nobody wanted to listen. Even the sheriff looked overwhelmed, hat in hand, staring at the floor. Roy stood by the window, hand shaking, while Lily held Brutus's leash, chin up, quiet but stubborn. At one point, Mrs. Callahan demanded Brutus be removed for the safety of the children, but then little Jeremy, the troublemaker from before, stood up and said, "He's the only one who ever listened to me when I was scared." That shut the room up real quick. In the end, it came down to Brutus himself. They opened the door, one side Roy, the other Lily, and let him choose. For a long, slow minute, Brutus just stood there, eyes darting back and forth, tail drooping. You could feel every breath in that room, everyone holding on, waiting. Then, with a low whine, he walked over to Lily and sat at her feet. Roy knelt down, tears streaming, and hugged them both, saying, "Guess he's found his place." But it wasn't quite the end. Word spread fast, faster than sense sometimes. Some people cheered, said it proved even the broken could be made whole again. Others grumbled, worried about what letting a dangerous animal stay might mean for the town's future. People moved their fences, changed their routines, locked their doors a little tighter at night. You could feel the crack in the community, a fault line just under the surface, hope on one side, fear on the other. Lily, though, she just kept living, the way only a kid who's seen darkness from day one can. She'd sit out in the grass, telling Brutus stories, sometimes surrounded by other dogs, sometimes alone. The summer faded, but their bond didn't. Every so often, a stranger would stop at the fence, asking if the story was true. Lily would just smile, tilt her head, and say, "You hear a lot more when you stop trying to see everything." And here's the part no one ever really figured out. Did Lily save Brutus, or did he save her? Or did they just save Silver Creek from itself, for a little while at least? In the end, every legend leaves a mark, and every town decides what story to remember. So now I'm asking you, if it was your call, would you have let Brutus stay? Is a second chance worth the risk? Or are some scars just too deep? Drop your thoughts below, because this one's gonna get people talking, and honestly, maybe that's what small towns need most, a reason to listen.